Keynote 1, recognize the influence of toxic people. We live in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, each of us chasing success, happiness, and growth. But as we make our journey through life, one of the most important things we need to realize is the impact the people around us have on our path. Toxic people are not just individuals who complain or criticize. They are energy drainers. Those whose presence in our lives leaves us feeling less capable, less confident, and less motivated. Recognizing this influence is the first step toward a better, more fulfilling life. Toxic people often have a way of seeping into our day-to-day existence without us even realizing it. Maybe it's a friend, family member, or even a colleague. These people may not always show their toxicity in overt ways. Sometimes it's subtle. A cutting remark here, a backhanded compliment there. Or perhaps they discourage us, undermine our achievements, or constantly point out flaws in our ideas or goals. Over time, their negativity can become so ingrained in our thinking that we begin to doubt ourselves and question our worth. We live in a world where the people we interact with play a significant role in shaping our lives. Whether it's our family, friends, colleagues, or acquaintances, they influence our decisions, our behaviors, and even our emotions. Some relationships are uplifting, empowering us to pursue our dreams and grow into the best versions of ourselves. However, there is another category of people that can have the opposite effect. Those who drain our energy, hold us back, and leave us feeling smaller and more defeated than before. These are toxic people, and recognizing their influence is the first step to reclaiming control of your life and your happiness. Toxic people don't always announce their presence with flashing signs. Often they don't appear to be overtly harmful or negative at first. Sometimes they come disguised as someone close to you, a well-meaning friend, a family member who claims to have your best interests at heart, or a colleague who pretends to care about your success. The subtlety is what makes them so dangerous. At first, you might dismiss their actions as simple criticism, a bad mood, or an unfortunate misunderstanding. But over time, these interactions accumulate and their impact becomes clearer. This is when the real damage starts to take hold. Toxic people often manifest their negativity in different forms. Some are overly critical, constantly pointing out flaws or finding fault with everything you do. They may dismiss your achievements or belittle your efforts, no matter how hard you try. This creates an environment where nothing you do is ever good enough, and slowly you begin to doubt your abilities, your worth, and your potential. Others may engage in passive-aggressive behavior, undermining you in subtle ways, such as making backhanded comments or manipulating situations to their advantage. Over time, these behaviors erode your confidence and leave you feeling disempowered, as though you are constantly walking on eggshells. Then, there are those who thrive on drama and conflict. They constantly stir up trouble, create chaos, and leave a trail of unresolved tension wherever they go. Their energy is exhausting, and it feels like no matter how much you try to resolve issues, they are always creating new ones. Being around people like this is draining, emotionally, mentally, and even physically. You may notice that after spending time with them, you feel fatigued, anxious, or upset, but can't pinpoint exactly why. It's because they have a way of infusing your life with negative energy that leaves no room for peace or calm. Recognizing the influence of toxic people is crucial because without awareness, their behavior can slowly begin to affect your mindset. They chip away at your confidence, reshape your perception of yourself, and in extreme cases can even change the way you see the world. They may create doubt, fear, and insecurity, making you feel like you are not capable or worthy of success. You may start avoiding opportunities or questioning decisions because you believe you aren't good enough, or that failure is inevitable. But here's the reality. When toxic people influence your life, they distort your perception of what is possible. They plant seeds of negativity that prevent you from dreaming big or pursuing what you truly want. Their opinions, whether expressed through criticism, judgment, or even well-meaning advice, can become so internalized that you start to believe they are truths. The result is that you begin to second-guess yourself, and what was once a path of possibility now feels filled with obstacles. The most dangerous part is that you might not even realize it's happening, and before you know it, you've lost sight of your goals, passions, and aspirations. Furthermore, toxic people are often selfish in nature. They may not care about the impact their behavior has on you or the people around them. They are often motivated by their own needs and insecurities, and they may project those onto you. They may try to keep you small so they can feel better about themselves, or they may use you as a sounding board for their own frustrations. Their actions aren't about you, they're about them. Yet, despite their selfishness, it's easy to internalize their negativity and start believing that their way of thinking is right. In some cases, toxic people may even convince you that you need them, that without them you wouldn't be able to function. They may make you feel guilty or responsible for their feelings, or manipulate you into thinking that cutting them out of your life would be a mistake. But the truth is, their influence is toxic precisely because it feeds off of your empathy, kindness, and willingness to help. They take and take and take without giving back or nurturing you in return. The key to breaking free from the influence of toxic people is recognizing how their presence affects your life. This means paying attention to how you feel when you're around them. Do you feel drained, frustrated, or anxious? Do you find yourself doubting your abilities or second-guessing your decisions? Are you constantly trying to please them, even at the expense of your own happiness? These are signs that you are under the influence of someone who is toxic to your well-being. When you start to notice these signs, it's important to take action. Acknowledge the impact they are having on your mental and emotional health, and don't dismiss it as something minor. The longer you allow toxic people to remain in your life, the more entrenched their negative influence becomes. It is only when you recognize the damage they are doing that you can begin to take the necessary steps to protect yourself from further harm. Recognizing the influence of toxic people isn't about labeling others or holding grudges. It's about understanding that your own growth, happiness, and peace of mind are paramount. You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with, and their energy will inevitably affect the energy you bring to the world. By recognizing and addressing toxic influences, you begin to create the space for more positive, supportive relationships to flourish. Relationships that will uplift, inspire, and empower you to live your best life. One of the most vital skills we can develop in our personal lives is the ability to set boundaries. We often hear the term boundaries, but many of us fail to realize just how crucial they are for maintaining our well-being and emotional balance. Setting boundaries isn't just about telling others what we won't accept. It's about protecting ourselves from emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion, and it's a powerful tool for keeping our energy intact in a world filled with distractions, demands, and toxic influences. In the simplest terms, boundaries are the limits we establish to protect ourselves from being overwhelmed, disrespected, or drained by others. They define what we are willing to accept in our relationships, work, and personal life. Setting boundaries isn't an act of selfishness, it's an act of self-preservation. It's a statement to the world that your well-being is important and that you are not willing to allow anyone, no matter how close they may be, to cross certain lines. This act of protection becomes even more critical when we recognize that some people, often those with toxic tendencies, will not hesitate to take advantage of our kindness or willingness to help if we let them. The first step in setting boundaries is becoming aware of what feels right and wrong for you. Many of us go through life without paying attention to how certain people or situations make us feel. We get caught up in the expectations of others, the pressures to be helpful, or the fear of confrontation. This is where we lose ourselves. We give more than we have, and before we know it, we're depleted. But once we learn to tune into our feelings, we become better equipped to notice when something doesn't feel right. Pay attention to your emotions. If you feel resentful, exhausted, or irritated by a particular person or situation, that's often a sign that a boundary has been violated. Recognizing this is the first step in protecting your energy. Once you've identified what doesn't sit well with you, it's time to communicate those boundaries clearly and assertively. Many people struggle with this because they fear rejection or upsetting others. We've been conditioned to be people pleasers, to always say yes, or to keep the peace at all costs. However, this comes at the expense of our own happiness and peace of mind. When you fail to assert your boundaries, you're allowing other people's needs and demands to take precedence over your own, which ultimately leads to frustration, resentment, and burnout. Setting boundaries means saying no when necessary, and it means being clear about what you will and will not tolerate. This can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to being assertive, but over time, it becomes easier and more natural. It's important to remember that setting boundaries is not about being rude, aggressive, or dismissive of others. It's about honoring your own needs and protecting your emotional and mental space. People may not always understand your boundaries, especially if they are used to taking more than they give or have come to expect certain things from you. But that doesn't mean your boundaries are wrong. In fact, respecting your own boundaries teaches others to respect them as well. If someone is upset by your refusal or doesn't understand your need for space, that's a reflection of their inability to accept your needs, not a reflection of your worth or kindness. Boundaries are about self-respect and maintaining your sense of self. In the context of toxic people, boundaries are essential. These individuals will often test limits, manipulate situations, or push for more than you're willing to give. They may demand your time, energy, or attention without offering anything in return, leaving you feeling drained and unappreciated. It's easy to get caught up in their constant needs and never-ending drama, but this is when your boundaries are most important. Letting toxic people dictate the terms of your interactions or allowing them to drain you is a sure way to lose touch with your own priorities. Establishing clear boundaries helps protect you from being pulled into their negative energy, and it keeps your focus on the things that truly matter in your life. Another critical aspect of boundary setting is the ability to recognize when it's time to walk away. Some relationships or situations simply aren't worth maintaining, and no matter how many boundaries you set, they may continue to drain your energy. It's okay to walk away from people who consistently disregard your boundaries, who cause you emotional harm, or who bring nothing but negativity into your life. Sometimes, the best way to protect your energy is to distance yourself from toxic individuals altogether. Letting go of relationships that no longer serve you is not a failure. It's an act of courage and self-care. Boundaries are not a one-time event. They require constant reinforcement and adjustment as our lives evolve. The more we practice setting and maintaining healthy boundaries, the stronger our sense of self becomes. Over time, you'll become more confident in your ability to protect your energy, and others will begin to respect your needs and limits. As you continue to prioritize your own well-being, you'll attract people who support and uplift you, people who respect your boundaries and encourage your growth. It's also important to recognize that setting boundaries doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world or cutting off all connections. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding, and boundaries allow those relationships to thrive. By protecting your energy, you create the emotional space to connect with others in a way that is positive, enriching, and fulfilling. In conclusion, setting boundaries is an essential act of self-care. It's about recognizing your own worth, protecting your emotional and mental health, and maintaining control over how others treat you. Boundaries give you the power to decide what you will and will not tolerate, allowing you to focus on the people and experiences that truly align with your values and goals. By setting boundaries and protecting your energy, you empower yourself to live a life that is fulfilling, peaceful, and authentic to who you are. Remember, your time and energy are precious, and it's up to you to decide how they are spent.